I have an interview that I will be displaying here. I think it's good. It's with an entrepreneur and a friend of mine, and we're going to go through and discuss a lot of things here about setting up and running your own business. And I thought this would be great for a lot of you, my audience, to be able to see and hear, and because there's just a lot of great information there. So we get a little sidetracked from time to time, just because we are so close, friends, and we got a lot of history, that sometimes we bring up a little bit of memories. So the interview does go a little bit long. But, like I said, for a lot of you wanting to learn about starting and running your own business, I think this is a good interview. And just so you know, if this is the first time that you are tuning in, the Hustle Years is about your working lifetime, from when you decide to start your career to when you end it. We talk about careers, entrepreneurship, side hustles, balancing family life, with all of that. Okay, and so before we get into the interview, I do want to point out one thing here, a little bit of a lesson. And that is, you got to think about why it is you hustle. What is your motivation? Whether you're trying to become a personality, a social entrepreneur, social influencer, get an acting career, a music career, or start your own brick and mortar business, a tech company, whatever it is, you got to figure out why it is that you're hustling. What is your underlying motivation? Because if you don't know that, you're never going to succeed. And it's amazing how many people go through and try and start this thing or that thing or whatever without ever taking the time to think about whether or not they really want to do that. There's too many people out there that are just following the money, that are just going out there and trying to say, hey, a lot of people made a lot of money doing this, so I'm going to do it too. The reason why that never works is because success is rarely overnight. And if you're doing something that you really don't have a lot of interest in, but you're only doing it because you think you'll make money off of it, when the money doesn't flow in overnight, you give up and you try and go on to the next thing. And this is where you get so many people going from side hustle and entrepreneurship to side hustle and entrepreneurship. They keep doing a million different things. And as you do that, especially if you're married, it's hard to get support because everyone knows, okay, this is just a short-term passion. You're just going to give up. So when I think about the question, why is it that you hustle? It gets into a more philosophical question, where you got to try and take a look at the crossroads of passion and talent. When you have a passion for something that matches up with your talents and natural skills, and you mix that together, you can be successful. It's going to take hard work. You're going to have to learn how to do some marketing if it's something where you earn money through advertisement or product sales. You're going to have to learn how to do a lot of marketing. And you're going to have to work hard, but as long as you're passionate about it, you're going to stick with it. Now, talent is going to determine, somewhat of how successful you're going to be, but talent is not everything. There's a lot of talented people that aren't making squat doing what they want to do. Why? Because they don't put in the hard work. Hard work will beat a lazy, talented person every single time. And if you're going off and you're trying to say, well, I'm going to work smart, not hard. Okay, but what are you going to do when someone does both? Work smart and work hard and has talent. Okay, so you're going to have to do this very hard. And so when you take a look at this, right, and then I'm going to start jumping into the interview here real shortly. So when you start taking a look at this, you got to start thinking at every time you start something, what is your underlying motivation? What is your vision for what it is that you're going to do? What is it that you're hoping to accomplish? And what is your roadmap to being able to do it full time rather than feeling like you're dead inside in a 9-to-5 job? So think about that for a moment. Okay, so now that I got that out of the way, and it's a short lesson. I thought about maybe dragging that out for like 20, 30 minutes. But, really, there's no need to do that. You got the fundamental principle up front. You got the underlining idea that you got to know your motivation, you got to know your why in order to determine whether or not you're going to be successful at what it is you're trying to build. All right, so anyways, I got an interview here. Entrepreneur Tim Schrum. He goes through, now when we talk about the hustle years and we talk about these interviews, we're not talking about necessarily people who are making millions of dollars a year. You got to be able to define what your success is. And in this particular interview, success is being able to have complete control of your own schedule, to be able to make enough money doing something that you like, that you can do it full time, allow you to engage in hobbies, and to be able to take care of all of your financial needs. It's having the freedom lifestyle, and that's what we got here with Tim Schrum. So let's go ahead and dive into this interview. Get you the information such as how to start a business, how to find products in order to sell, and some of the ways that you can sell them, and being able to take control of your schedule. So, here we go. Yeah. So, we're going to start getting into the background a little bit of how you got started and doing your business, and I'm sure throughout the show, you're going to tell us that once you decided to be an entrepreneur, the stars aligned, everything fell into your lap, and with an F, the customer came banging on your doorstep. Is that about right?
In a perfect world, sure. In a perfect world, yeah, I guess that would be the way that I would like to have had it. But like any small business owner that starts off, they are going to find out that there are a lot of obstacles that they are going to encounter, and ones that they didn't even know.
Oh, so you're saying that success is not overnight and it takes hard work. What a shock.
No.
Yes.
Yeah. There's I tell you, I probably have gone through more legal pads and pens just from writing away on notes and chewing on pens out of stress. So definitely get my money's worth with the Staples credit card that I have for office supplies.
So let's go ahead and talk about where you were just before you started your current business. What you were doing, whether you were had another business going or whether you were working as an employee somewhere else. Just kind of give us an overview of where your life was when you decided you need to start your current business.
Sure. So, for some of those who may know me or that are watching or listening, I spent 10 years working in the wireless communication industry, particularly the cellular telecom field. I worked with 2 Fortune 500 companies, one Fortune 5 with Verizon Wireless and AT&T. I worked in a lot of different avenues of the company there, at both of them actually, anywhere from the retail aspect to the small business, consumer, medium business sized customer base. And then as time progressed, I moved up into the company and got into a management position where I coached and taught and instructed a lot of the indirect retail employees, and those are the people that aren't your local mom and pop cell phone shops that aren't owned by the actual companies, but just licensed service the product service of the company that they're licensed to within certain means and ways that they're limited to. So they don't get the training from corporate like we do. So someone has to go and train these people and coach them, the culture, the the salesmanship and the way to be motivated to sell and overcome obstacles and objections. And so it's our job to, well, my job in particular, to facilitate that kind of training and coaching and leadership skills among ambitious and hungry and driven sales reps, indirect retail for both AT&T and Verizon Wireless. So, so that details just a little bit about my corporate and retail experience and small business experiences, working with the Fortune 5 or Fortune 500 companies. And then I also, while I was in college, we both went to Iowa State. You know, it's kind of a weird thing there. That
Go Cyclones.
You bet. Go Cyclones. And everyone knows that I've always been a diehard, lifelong Iowa State. So it came as no surprise to everybody that I wouldn't have chosen Iowa State as my place for education and alma mater. And in that time frame there, while working for both AT&T and Verizon, I also worked in the service industry market by being a J, playing music for a bar on the campus town block called Mickey's Irish Pub, and then just really, it just happened just really quick where all of a sudden I learned how to bartend in my life. I never knew how to make a drink, do the right kind of mixtures or anything for making a cocktail for someone. Now all of a sudden I'm learning these mixtures, and now all of a sudden I'm throwing in the mix of being a bartender, which I never in a million years ever thought I was going to do. And then suddenly now, a few months go by, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, well, you have business experience and leadership skills, and would you be interested in being the general manager of the bar? And I never thought of ever imagining seeing myself in, and eventually found myself using a lot of those things I learned from AT&T and Verizon, put that into play in a campus town bar, and made that work out really well and thrive, and put young college kids to work and make sure they got money, and so they are not living and dying by student loans. And so that came out really well. A lot of public relations, a lot of marketing, advertising that you didn't necessarily learn from the corporate setting and background. So definitely there was a lot of hands-on work there, more labor, and a lot of you think there's logistics and there's policy that you have to follow in a retail or a corporate setting, and when you get into these small businesses like a bar and service industry, and including my small business, there's a lot more to it than what it seems. So there's a little bit of my experience in that aspect there too. And then another thing that I do too that has helped supplement additional income and has helped me launch into a professional career of sports officiating. I referee high school football and did junior football for various college institutions. That's NCAA. There's a ton of acronyms I could go through, but that oversee college and stuff. But I've refed them, and I'm sure I've gotten every name called at me from probably a dozen of them schools, and probably in profanities that I didn't even think I could even come up with. And I normally come up with really creative cuss words and profanities, and it's always been one of those things where I've always been creative about that. And you really get a gut check when a 60 or 70-year-old grandparent puts you in check for not inbounding a ball the right way by their stand. So
there's just no pleasing anybody in that industry.
No, there is, and that's what my degree was focused on, was sports management fitness. And here I am in an industry, in a business that has absolutely nothing to do with what I studied. Party hard, and that generally is the joke on every college graduate, it seems like, and what student up. But you know, that officiating opportunity has been something that I learned from my education at Iowa State as well. So that's just a brief, long story short, overview of what I've done so far, going into my mid-30s.
Okay. Now,
It's weird saying.
Oh yeah, no kidding. And yet, we're both millennials.
Yeah, and you know, it's weird for me to even say, well, you know, part of my friends, but holy shit, Jake Johnson's a dad with a college degree for a financial.
Yeah, working for a financial institution and then running a couple of things on the side.
So, yeah, so I mean, it's one of those things where, definitely, one of those things where in my mid-30s, it's very bizarre to say it, where I've gone from start to now, and it only just shows that it's going to be more interesting down the road when we hit a midlife crisis.
Yeah, have a couple of kids, that midlife crisis will come a lot sooner. So, anyways, what made you think that you could start a business?
What it was that a lot of people would tell me that I have the ability to be able to communicate with people in a way that you know, everybody can understand. You know, that was one of the things that I had to thrive on working in retail sales. When you're commissioned, you know that hourly is going to be the most substantial part of your paycheck. So obviously, you know, selling and reaching your commission goals or metrics were definitely the way to go. And so being able to speak eloquently, professionally, and intelligently, in a way that everybody can understand it, so that the most intelligent person in the world can understand it, and the world's most shy person you have to speak to in the way of a kindergartner. So that everyone understands clearly what you're trying to convey, and the message comes through loud and clear. No one misunderstands it. No one forgets it, and definitely they see the message in the idea that's being suggested to them to make a purchase with. So with the communication skills that I learned, just not only from what I learned in high school, from like being in speech and debate, to volunteering politically when I was younger as a kid. And it's weird for me saying this, it was my activism was a in my 30s, and well, what the hell, I'm a law. And so
what's the old saying? If you're young and you're not a Democrat, you don't have a heart. If you're old and still a Democrat, you don't have a brain. Isn't that the old saying?
That's how the old adage is, and that's the thing is that, that volunteer work there alone, that gave me opportunities to meet people like Al Gore, Hillary Clinton. I know Hillary, but I mean, even though they were not exactly, what I see as my political platform now, but it's still, an amazing opportunity to meet, people who have shaped and formed, whether it is and was for good and bad reasons. Those things, along with my experience in learning how to sell and engage and working with customers and working with all different kinds of characters and all different kinds of demographics and incomes and the whole socioeconomic backgrounds that people have. That has given me that ability to put together an idea that I can use those skills along with the technology field, along with the experiences that I had in service industry, to figure out ways to save customers money and better educate the customer in making purchases, and being able to get exactly what they want and not feel like they were robbed. That was something that I developed in my own mind. But it goes without saying that I started thinking about that in 2010. So,
And when
Obama's
did you,
still
and when did you
Obama's
open
still in
your
his first
business?
term. Obama's still in his first term. Then I started thinking about this, and then I'm still working in the bar, and then I'm at this point um, going down the road in the year 2012. I start putting together the business plan or the business proposal. That's one of the very first steps that you definitely want to get started with when you start a business, so that you know what it is that you're doing, what you're offering, and that you don't deviate from it, because those are your bedrock principles of why you're a business to begin with. And so, 2012 goes, and now here I'm in 2014, and I think at this point, okay, it's safe to get into the entrepreneurship arena of being a small business owner, and um, following every step of the way of what I set in stone with my business plan and with my goals that I had set. So that was one of those things that I took into a lot of consideration to putting a business into play. The communication skills being a huge thing, always having and being aware of the market too. I've always been tuned into technology and tech gadget stuff. I'm a nerd, glorified nerd. Okay.
Oh, I remember back in high school, you were the first of my friends to have their own laptop versus a desktop, and you're always upgrading technologies. You've gone through a million phones.
Yeah, though now it's funny that now that you mentioned going through a million phones, when I worked with those companies, well, that was one of the better perks and benefits, was that you got 2 free phones with AT&T with unlimited this, unlimited that, so you could definitely be in the know-how of what's going on in the industry, of what's being offered, and how it can be used, and how it's going to change and shape the way that we do things in life. And considering how much phones are now, and that you almost practically have to finance them like a car payment, I haven't gone through that many phones as of late. Let's just put it that way. But in the technology aspect of things, no, yeah, the computers, anything that supports it, supplements it, that makes it better and efficient, then yeah, absolutely. So it doesn't exactly have to be a piece of hardware or software. Sometimes it's just small twerks that you just enter in with a couple of keystrokes of the keyboard, and then all of a sudden now you have a complete 180 in what you're doing now. So,
okay.
but
Now,
that's been my thing.
okay. So, when you first got started, what were some of the initial challenges and things that you didn't expect that you had to overcome as you were launching your business?
I think the biggest thing was inventory. Inventory was a big thing. The next thing was retail space. Going into a small business, there's a lot of ways that you can go about doing this. You can save up money and build up capital so that you have retail space. And then I started thinking, okay, if I go that direction with retail space, now that means that I have to pay rent, pay utilities, additional technology fees such as broadband internet, telephones, office supplies, anything that something like printers, the whole works. And as the way that the business was shifting and looking at things back in 2012 and then going into 2014, I started noticing that, hey, people aren't necessarily having BB. We're not, it was at first the smartphone. You could look up the price where you were buying something or shopping or something, or at a business of some sort, and you can look it up on your phone and find out that it was better at, the price was better somewhere else, and then you just get in your car and go there and get a better price. Well, in this situation here was where, and now you see it now today, the way that business is being done, and how some businesses are being shut down because of it. Good example, Best Buy's, they're losing, stores, they're shutting down. There's Radio Shack's another big victim of this kind of business practice is the online ordering that people do. Amazon being one big influences, and why I went in the direction I did was that, okay, I don't necessarily have to have a retail space set up to do this. It means I don't have to, I can cut all my costs almost, in a big fraction of sense, to not pay for, utilities, technology fees, and everything like that, when I have a home office where I'm living and I can conduct my business that way, and then just pay the kill two birds with one stone, pay those kind of fees and costs that I already am paying for my cost of living. And so so that took care of the place and location of the business. The inventory was the biggest thing, though, because when you become when you become a retailer of products that you can get at a Walmart or a Target or Best Buy or anywhere that basically is a box store, there are certain benchmarks that you have to meet to be considered a vendor or a retailer of their products. I'm sure of OtterBox and LifeProof. They're the same company.
Yeah.
I have to have mortar.
OtterBox.
Yep. I actually have to have brick and mortar. But with wholesale that I go with, I can resell AT&T prepaid products, and all I got to do is sign a form, and that's it. Don't have to have brick and mortar. So, and they sell some of the Apple products. They sell all sorts of items that go from household to construction to appliances to technology. You name it. I could probably find you a toaster that you've been wanting all your life, just along on my catalog. But I may not be able to do that because I don't have the parameters of the small business to sell a Procter & Silex.
So let me ask you this:
huge challenges. I think one of the biggest ones, and then the next thing was advertising. Advertising is the biggest challenge too.
All right. Before we go into the advertising, let's talk about how you were able to find and source the initial products. I don't know what it is, but for some reason when I go online and I try and wholesalers and all of that, I end up getting a whole lot of results, but they're not really wholesalers. It seems like a bunch of retailers trying to pass themselves off as wholesalers. So how do you find them?
Well, the best way to do this, where it explain it to you, and the best way possible here is one, have a lot of time on your hands. Okay. Two, this is Diet Pepsi. It's a caffeinated beverage. I buy it in bulk. The next thing would be a coffee maker. Definitely don't get the Keurig thing, because that's definitely not going to be the most productive way of being attentive and awake when using all these hours of researching. So buy a good coffee maker that can make multiple cups in one setting. So lots of coffee, lots of caffeine, a little bit of the nicotine too to keep you going, and the time to research these companies. The biggest thing is that folks will look into, vendors, wholesalers, so that they can retail their products and stuff for their business. Some people just read the text that's just there and they just leave it at. Now, my thing was that if I wanted something that bad enough and I wanted to answer for it, well, I'm going to give them a call. If they got a phone number, I'm calling them. I'm going to talk to them. And when I found my perfect group of people to do my wholesale, that were my wholesalers, I picked up the phone, called them up. They put me in with an actual sales rep or an account representative or account executive that would specifically oversee everything that I do, as far as my purchasing and ways for them to get more out of me, to buy from them. And so that was a really good indication right there, was that I had a dedicated account representative that would, cater to specific needs for promotions, for advertising, for merchandising if I needed it, and special pricing or special shipping and stuff like that. So that's one of those big things there, is that finding yourself getting in touch with someone face to face over the face to face or over the telephone, or just by old-fashioned email, and getting the details about exactly what it is the commitment is to, that you're expected to and what they're expected to. And if you got someone that's dedicated there to, answer the questions and not only meet your needs, but also meet their company's needs, then you got a good idea of who you're working with, and then you have a better idea that, these people aren't here to, give you a reach around per se and not blow smoke up your butt. So, and then when I looked at the product and went through the catalog, hey, this is a legitimate product, legitimate stock, legitimate stuff that I go and buy every day, or what we buy on a daily basis or weekly or monthly or whatever, ranging from electronics to office supplies to tools, the whole works. These are things that we use in our everyday life. And when I saw that product and saw what they were telling me in, setting the expectation right, then I knew exactly this is the right kind of wholesaler or drop shipper or vendor to go through. Now, that did take time, though, for me to figure that out, though. I had to weed through a lot of it.
Okay, and then a follow-up question that I have is, I've heard about this practice, and I was wondering if this was your experience, where some wholesalers and some manufacturers, they have their stuff listed in such a way as to try and weed out people who are legitimate smart business owners and those who are, don't really have a clue what they're doing and wouldn't be successful long run. And so I was wondering if that has been your experience, where how they have things listed on the website when you're doing the initial, when you're doing the initial research. Have you seen that there's a big difference between how it's listed on the website and what's listed when you call, in order to weed out the real people?
There is. What the price that you're when I've noticed through drop shippers or vendors or wholesalers that I go through, that I'm in current existing business with, or have in past, or potential that I'm researching or looking up about to partner with. Yeah, I do see two different prices. Now, those prices can be very deceiving to someone that isn't aware of exactly what they're getting themselves into, about what they're paying for, and what the cost is. Now, this is one thing that I noticed, like, through particularly the company that I go with, and the one I speak very fondly of, and the one that has a vast majority of everyday products that you would see at a Walmart or a Target or a Best Buy or Home Depot or even Menards, is a company called Petra, that's based out of Oklahoma. And now, the standard everyday Joe will see their prices listed on their website, and even in the catalog, and the catalog's like this thick. Their prices will show what you would pay retail. Standard consumer marked up retail price, what guys like you and me would do if we went to Walmart, Target, Radio Shack, or whatnot. So that's what we would pay as standard consumer. Now, benefit you provide that you're a legitimate business with a federal tax ID like the EIN, employee ID number, obviously the state sales tax ID and everything that that you have that provides that you pay sales taxes and quarterly tax, all that stuff. Once you verify that with the company and they run that through the system and everything, and they see everything checks out, now you're going to be getting a different price. You're going to be getting the actual wholesale price of the product that you're going to buy. So if, for example, a case of Pepsi for a consumer is a 12-pack would be, I think it's like right now, I think it's like $4.68 for a 12-pack. Okay. As a wholesaler or a vendor, my prices are going to be lower. I'll get the wholesale price, so it's maybe instead of $4, it's maybe $1.50 or $2. So it's considerably lower on my end. I also get the benefit of obviously not paying sales tax at all either, because with that tax ID, I have to every quarter and every month, submit to the state, sales tax. And so that I charge the customers, on the markup and everything that I make off my product and service. So that's where I think people will get that misunderstood price there. That's the first one. Now, the second one that people will also misunderstand too is buying in bulk. So when you go to like Sam's Club or a Costco, obviously it's a little bit more expensive, but you get a substantially larger quantity than you normally would at a regular grocery store or a department store. So there's value and bang for the buck, obviously, because you're getting more in quantity than you normally do. So for a good example, parts that I use on maybe a computer or a smartphone, when I used to repair smartphones, the more I ordered in bulk, the cheaper my prices were. So for example, on an iPhone to repair the screen and digitizer, parts for that I think were about $20-30. Okay, so now some people are going to be like, what? It costs that much for the parts? Well, yeah, if you know what you're doing and know how to do it, then yeah, it's a really good, it's a hell of a deal. But then it's not such a great deal when you screw it up and you made a bigger dent in debt on a phone than you initially started off to. So, so yeah, the price on those are extremely cheap per item if you're a licensed business and everything, but they can get even cheaper or lower in price, excuse me, if I buy more of them. So when we have an iPhone epidemic come out, when another iPhone comes out, the best idea is buy in bulk. So you get them cheaper that way. It's the same thing too. Samsung, for some weird reason, never understood it. Their prices for aftermarket replacement parts and everything to repair smartphone are through the roof. And I don't know why. They sell just as many smartphones as iPhone does. And for some weird reason, sometimes parts for a screen and digitizer is like $100 some odd. I'm like, what the hell? So again, it's based off businesses and everything. But if I buy in bulk, though, the price per goes, the PPU goes down. The price per unit goes down in buying in bulk. And so a lot of people will not understand that exactly because, first off, sometimes they may not even be wanting to buy in bulk, and they may not ever because, they're not going to go through that many parts sometimes. And me personally, I don't want to be buying, hundreds of dollars worth of parts in an industry where come tomorrow there's another phone and it's like, great, now I'm sitting here with a pile of parts that I can't get rid of now.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Okay.
that's, I think, where people get misunderstood on that. And hopefully that answers the question there for that.
Yes, and so I mean, I think a lot of what we have learned is that what you initially see when you're doing your research on Google is not necessarily their best offer. It is kind of weeding it out, and there is ways to go through and get even better deals by calling them up, trying to work out deals, and then taking a look at bulk options.
Yeah, I mean, the best thing is don't go with what the FAQ says, and don't go with what reviews and from other people go by, because that's for their business and their specific needs and services, not yours. So if they have shitty customer service, pardon my French, okay,
Now I'm going to have to mark this as explicit.
great. Or you edit it out. Either way, the thing here is that you offer terrible customer service. Okay, yeah, that's fine. But if it's a specific need they weren't able to meet a specific niche of what their business is, ignore it. It's not part of your business. Stick with what you know best. But realistically speaking, stay away from FAQs, away from reviews. Go in depth into what it is that they're offering, and if you're not getting information in text off their website, which generally most of them provide quite a bit of information, there's ways to get a hold of these people and information out of them, and they will be more than willing to take your business. And some of these people will offer finance, and you can also use your credit card or debit card or checking account to link up to purchase these items too. But and go based off reputation here too, because the minute I saw the catalog that Petra offered, and I saw OtterBox, and I saw LifeProof, and I saw Belkin, and I saw Apple, and I saw name brand products and items that, again, are at department stores that we go to every, on a maybe daily basis or weekly basis. If those products are there, that means that they've got a good relationship working with the manufacturers too of those companies. So, but if you see some stuff that's like, oh, they sell a product that I'd probably buy this at a truck stop when I absolutely need it the most.
Yeah, or they're probably just getting off of like Alibaba and shipping it over from China and slapping a personal brand on it or something.
Exactly. And there's nothing absolutely wrong with that either, too, because some of these products that do come from that from China, because I'm guilty of it. I bought some accessories that are just as durable and tough as the name brand items, and surveying just my friends that are in tune with technology and have to have something like that on a daily basis. Sometimes the name branding and the name brand or the reputation or the branding image isn't always everything to them. Everybody's, does it work? Am I going to get value out of it? And is it going to be cost effective? And if the person that's selling it obviously can step up and say, I'm going to put my reputation on the line for it, saying that it's a solid product. And yeah, because, well, I took my iPhone 5 and, well, knock on wood, we tested it with it. And, well, guess what? They all work, thank God. So,
Okay, so I'm, taking a look at time here. So there's a couple more things that I want us to be able to get to. Now, this next part that I want to ask you about is to weed up all those wusses out there that have nothing but excuses for why they can't do a business. They're saying, oh, I can't do it because I don't have time, because of my kids, or hey, this day job, or you just don't understand, things don't go right for me, and give up on the very first time something goes wrong.
well,
Now I know, because of our relationship, some of the big things that have happened to you. So, if you don't mind telling, one of the biggest events that you've had that would have been a setback in order to get rid of all the excuses anybody else can have.
well, I can't say that. Well, and I know, and my friends know, that both my adopted parents had passed. My mom died at 13. My dad died when I was 25, 26, I think, in '09. But I wasn't in business then. You know, I wasn't starting a business. I was still in college, and, you know, I still had a regular job. And all I was thinking about then was, whose number am I going to get from the next chick I run into, you know, at a bar or something, you know. Those weren't, you know, priorities back then, and priorities now are a little bit different, obviously. But the thing about it is, though, is that the biggest obstacle I had was last year when I had a stroke and a brain tumor. And the funny thing about it is that the business was already running. The business started in 2014 on, well, actually, it started New Year's Eve of 2014 is when all the paperwork got sent to me, and when it became an official and operating business then. And then moving down the road, though, you know, going into 2016 of last year, going into February and March, yeah, I suffered a stroke in my bathroom, and then subsequently had a brain tumor and had to have it surgically removed. And now I've got like a stapled line head here, and had to go on chemotherapy and everything. And again, the business was still running. So at this point, I'm still a one-man show. I operate by myself, and that's by my own choice. And that's how, you know, my business is to sustain, you know, at the present. And so there was a good solid, you know, we're going from the part of February all the way up until about roughly May or June. No business whatsoever for repairs or IT services that I offer for businesses or consumers. I was doing smartphone repairs then. And I wanted to mention that I was selling pre-owned equipment and whatnot from my vendors and wholesalers. So there was a little business going through when it came to maybe the accessories and equipment and stuff like that. But the biggest bulk of my business is cellular repeaters, which is a signal booster to help improve cell reception in buildings and vehicles when you can't get it the most. I'm not out there making sales calls. I'm not out there checking in on my customers and clients. And I'm not able to also make sales or install the equipment or service. Now, obviously, my customers were completely understanding, and if I wouldn't have treated them any better than I already have, then they may have bolted and gone somewhere else. But they sat and, you know, they were willing to wait, you know, and I thank my customers for that kind of loyalty. But you dang right, it was a major concern because it is my livelihood. It's the only way I'm making money. And now I'm sitting here with almost a $90,000 hospital bill, and, you know, trying to figure out, oh, what do I do now? And so, and how do I get the business going? And, you know, I could say, yeah, you know, and most people would say that it'd be very easy to cite the tumor and stroke as a serious reason why one would want to, you know, use it as an excuse per se.
To just give up and go get a 9-to-5 because, you know, 9-to-5 is secure.
And see, and that's the thing is that, you know, even with the injury that I sustained, even with a 9-to-5, you know, there was going to be its limitations that I'd be, you know, allowed to have. Whereas opposed when I was not with a tumor and stroke, you know, I could push my mental capacity as far as I possibly could, and physically, you know, exert myself more than I probably should. So the biggest thing here is that there was limitations into getting back into it and everything, and so I'm like, if I'm going to have limited to what I'm going to be doing on a 9-to-5 job, and I'm going to be making, you know, barely minimum wage, or, you know, an income that I can't make to afford cost of living, then there should be no reason why I should stop doing what I'm doing as far as my business is concerned. It's been my dream, and I have the support of a lot of my friends and professional references in my network. So why stop? You know, because it's the same way that you're going to limit yourself to is if you're going to start your own business. It's like, okay, things aren't going good, and you the woe is me, kids or whatever. Okay, well, you're still going to have kids. You're still going to have those issues still. But you're going to have it with a 9-to-5 job, making minimum wage with terrible benefits.
Okay,
And
so
you could really open the potential in your own business and make a good profit.
okay, so those of you who are watching this, or if you're listening to the audio version of this, let this be a lesson. Even if you do end up with a brain tumor and a lot of surgery, that's still not an excuse. Okay, so now
Let me add one more thing. And after I got done with my tumor and surgery and everything, when I got released to go back home, Central Committee for Republican Party with caucuses and everything were just happening. That didn't even stop me from even doing that. I walked in with staples and everything in my head, and still didn't stop me from doing that either. So,
and I'm sure the doctors were horrified, considering they probably just told you to take it easy.
yeah, and you know, but it was my valiant attempt to try to stop Trump from where he wanted to go and get my guy in instead. But nonetheless,
yeah. I mean, we were going for the same party. We were just going for different people. I mean, I wasn't going for Trump. I believe you were a Rand Paul guy, and I was a Ted Cruz guy.
I told the people in the Central Committee that brain tumor, stroke, staples, surgery, chemotherapy, nothing's going to stop me from putting my voice in to get everybody to maybe put delegates into someone else's pocket, and one that we just did. So
yes, and so that we're going through, we've talked about where you before you started business, the initial challenges and sourcing of the product, what you didn't know. What did you do for marketing when you first got started? Because there is a little bit here between, you know, social media marketing, going all in on that, versus some traditional marketing versus a combination of the two. What did you find as being most effective when you were starting up your business, and what do you find most effective today?
Well, the social media thing has really changed things quite a bit now, where it used to be where you just advertised on social media and people would just, you know, door swings would happen. Product was getting, you know, pushed out. And when they would reference it in their research, like when they would do polls or, you know, surveys, they're finding out that people are responding to the online advertising through social media. But now it's changed so differently now where you can start ordering things off social media, you know, right from the source. You know, Facebook, you know, that's the biggest one. You know, Twitter's not set up like that, and it's not really much of a, it's not a architect program to do something like that. Facebook definitely is, where you could set up your own point of sale, your own online inventory, and you know, and your merchandise all in one page, and then at the same time turn the advertising wheels. And with the advertising that you can do with Facebook, where if you pay for the advertising, you can target it in certain markets, in certain areas, where you are, where you live, and then a certain mileage, certain age group, and based off their interests and likes that they have on Facebook. So if you put in that you like Apple, or you like Android, or you like Samsung or Windows, I can go ahead and, you know, and manipulate a, you know, an advertising campaign with my business and everything, and then strategically launch that campaign on social media, and it's going to get delivered specifically to people who have listed those certain interests and likes and buying purchases in their past. That is really cool and common, but after a while, though, with social media and the way people are right now, with the behaviors that people have on social media, sometimes it's just a neglected thing where now people are just let's get to the meat and coconut and get to the daily drama of our lives. You know,
So it's kind of like email marketing, where it used to be really good, but then as time went on and behaviors changed and norms and all that,
and so it works. It works, but you have to go about it in a different way now, where instead of just flat throwing out an ad or a promo with a product and service, you know, now let's throw out something that we can engage people with, where we're not even talking about anything that would regard you buying something from us. You know, if I'm a car dealership or a mechanic shop, you know, maybe I'll put a video up or something that says, "Hey, this is Tim from Schrum Auto Repair. Here's the best way to take care of your car during summertime. You know, heat from overheating, that sort of thing. You know, this is the stuff that, you know, well, obviously this is something everybody knows, and it's not something that you would put in specifically to my repair shop to pay to learn, right? But doing those certain things, it's going to help you keep, you know, better longevity of your vehicle or something, and that will that will win people's hearts and minds over, and they'll say, well, they're going to go back over to me and do stuff like that because of the useful information they got. And so things like that are shaping differently in social media, on advertising there. I still do print advertising too, in small time newspaper areas too, because the business is called Rural Specialties. We appeal to the rural community and the rural market, so not everybody is going to be tuned in to the technological side of things, and we got to go with the old-fashioned approach. We can still do, you know, I have done the direct mailers, but again, I'm just adding a junk mail sometimes. And then you can do the phone book thing. It doesn't work necessarily that way either. But really, the digital wave is the social media aspect and the print media, where you still get the door knocks, where it still picks up readership there, because in this area, in this market specifically, people still read the newspaper, people still read the advertising. So whereas it would work here in rural Iowa, it may not work in the Omaha market with print media, you know. So
yeah, so it is going to be pretty market specific as far as what tactics for marketing is going to work.
Exactly.
Okay. And then what you were saying about how social media advertising was working for you, what you're saying is everyone's already tired and over of the buy this now, buy, you know, hey, this is great, please click here to buy. Instead, they're looking for people to show more and more that they care, and that the benefit of Facebook is you throw out an ad, you know, you maybe do something that's not so much of a sell, but, you know, just you know, kind of a hi, get to know you, provide a little value. They click on the ad, and boom, right there on Facebook, they can like your page and shop right there for your products.
Exactly. And see, and that's the next thing too, though, is that social media does it, you know, it's great for the standard consumer. But if I'm going for that medium, that I'm that small, medium, or large business, social media is not going to be my way of trying to reach out to these guys specifically and advertise to them my products and services. Because, again, these people are going to need specific wants and needs, and it's kind of vanilla for the standard consumer for the most part, you know. But I would say that, you know, with these business owners, it doesn't work that way. The direct email flyer sometimes still work, you know, because business owners still utilize email. The next thing is the good old-fashioned pay for leads.
That's something that people don't hear a whole lot about these days.
Pay for leads. That means that there are people that are going to give you information and statistics and factual information about people that are actually interested and in need of a product or service that would benefit from you. That means it gives you the opportunity to come up with custom advertising and campaigns where you send stuff in the mail, direct mailer that way. And some people have gone with a customized touch, and hey, here's a gift certificate to Jimmy John's or something, you know, gift basket of some sort. You know, there are people that do that. The next thing is the customary phone call, and not necessarily the most greatest thing. We both work telemarketing, and both
Oh
know.
boy, don't
Okay,
remind me.
we know that the cold calls aren't exactly the greatest thing to do, but again, cold calls do work as well because again, we're narrowing down on a specific key thing that's going to specifically help a business out. We're not selling something that's a generic thing that everybody needs and everybody, that's a commodity. That's a commodity like insurance or magazine subscriptions or a warranty program, for the refrigerator. And
Okay.
so those things do work. And then, going in there saying, hey, how you doing? I'm Tim from Real Specialties. Just going and doing that meet and greet that way.
Okay. I just did want to follow up on two things here. All right. Now, I know I was like, don't remind me about our days in telemarketing, but do you really
Tell.
Yes, I tell they close down, go figure. But
The new Walgreens.
yeah. Now, do you see a difference, take it back in and now, between telemarketing for another company and whose products that you may not necessarily care about, and how you go about cold calling, and how you feel about cold calling when it's your own business and a product you are excited about? Because, well, let me finish here for a moment, because I think some people get the sense like if they've called in the past, work for another business, they get this, I wanted that again. The people were horrible and all of that. And so I wanted to see if you could point out the difference from your experience doing that for another business versus, what it's like when you're doing it for yourself in your own business.
Well, the internet again and the smartphone has really changed the way that things have gone about this now, like loyalty rewards kind of thing, ways to save money. Now all of a sudden, if you just sign up, now you get this notification, hey, you can save money doing this now. And it's like, pull your phone and then kaboom, you're done. My insurance company for my car does that. It's like, oh, okay. Where it used to be you might get a phone call. A good example is like if I buy pizzas from the same pizza company or guy, and it's always the same pizza and always same price and everything, and they deliver it the same way and everything, and then you get a phone call from guys, hey, it's Jake Langholz from Pizza Hut in Denison. No, there's a I could save you just about $4.27 average on the pizza that you're ordering right now if you just order it differently. I'm like, what's the catch on it? Well, there's no catch. You just got to order it this way instead, and you'll actually save money that way. You'll still get the same pizza, made the same way, and delivered to you at the same time, fresh, piping hot. Jeez, I wish people would do that for me more often. Never happens. So one of those things that we did do working at AT&T and Verizon, we did cold call our customers. We saw that, again, we got specific information and statistics about customers. And it's one of those things where you can't share, obviously, but it's like, okay, this customer averages so much in overage fees because they're talking too much, or they're messaging too much, or they're using too much data. So, well, here's an opportunity here for you to make money because you can make an upsell on commission by selling them a better plan, and then at the same time save money. So I'm calling you up, Jake, and say, hey, Jake, it's Tim from AT&T. Say, noticed on your bill last few months here lately, you've been going over a lot of data lately. You've been quite busy as of late, with business or something. And, of course, the general, yeah, business, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, well, hey, I don't want to take too much of your time because I know you're busy and you're telling me you got kids and you got the business. If you want to, you can change your rate plan right now, no cost for no contract extension, no nothing. Everything stays the same. You just get more data so that you don't pay the overage fees that you're paying for. And in hindsight, you'll be saving about $25 if you go to this plan instead of doing what you're doing. How would you like to do that? And most people are like, yeah, let's go ahead and do it. I don't want to be paying that per much. So there's a lot of different ways of how that cold calling and that telemarketing aspect does happen. There are some definite perks of it, because you know that when you're going into it, you're definitely offering them something that's going to help them, and it's clearly visible that they need it. But there's there too, though, where you have going with a head and full head of steam, and your head straight on your shoulders, knowing that this cold call is going to be suggestive, and you might tick someone off, but and that's the way, again, that's the way that some of these businesses are set up to be somewhat more aggressive, passive aggressive than others. So.
Okay. And just for the audience here, I know he used my first name, but the last name Langholtz, that is another person that we know.
I that up because as being friends with, I met him through you.
Yeah, and so yes, growing up, there was another person. We shared the same first name and had different last name.
Free pizza.
Yeah, pizza.
That's really that he really hooked you with free pizza, So and that drove like a maniac.
Okay. Oh yeah. I remember there were times driving around with him. I was wondering if I was going to survive.
NASCAR driver, the small little 4-door Dodge sedan. I'm like thinking that we're in the Indy 500.
Yeah, and that little clown car that he had. Good times, good times. Now, throughout all the hard work, marketing, going through and sourcing your products and everything, where are you today? Where does your business stand today?
Well, right now, it's self-sufficient to where I am able to pay my bills, feed myself, clothe myself, be able to, basically I'm able to pay for my cost of living at this point. And there is profit to grow still too, where I'm taking that additional profit that I make and anything that I get back from the government ever goes into a special market checking or a market savings account that would be utilized in future company purchases or for a big rainy day, for emergency uses and stuff. And I'm comfortable to say that I haven't had to break that piggy bank, and that piggy bank is starting to, gradually fill where I'm happy with the way it's going, because those things do take time. It's like a 401k where, one point in period, in a quarter, you're doing great, and then the next quarter it's absolutely terrible, but that down the road, hey, this is, market's going to change, it's going to go up, it's going to go down, it's going to go up, it's going to go down, and it's going to take time for that to build up, obviously. And so with this, it's allowed me to do that, and it's been convenient enough for me to set my own schedule for my own hours, and it's allowed me to shape the business the way that my grandparents started it, because this company name, Rural Specialties, is a family business name that my grandparents started when they first started into the business, and their idea of communications and telecommunications were not the cell phone, but the 40-band CB radio, the two-way radio system, and the businessman radios, a technology that I still think, that I honestly feel is very underrated and underutilized and funded, because for law enforcement right now, the way that the FCC and the government's making cuts and stuff, it used to be that cops or sheriff's deputies could get reception from Slushwig, from Denison, and and get great reception for radio communication between the sheriff's department and where they're at. Now they're lucky to even get anything, And so, you know, that's one of those things where that's what my grandparents specialized in, you know, and it was great for the farmer. It was great for the trucker. And my grandpa would get in his truck and drive out to these people. Because sometimes you can't just take a truck or a tractor out to someone's business, you know, to have those kind of things done. He'd go out and customize and do it himself. And that's, again, what I do as well. You know, I go out to the customer. The customer does not come to me. They can if they need to, but it's allowed me to do that. And the way that the money budget and everything's gone, it's allowed me to budget to allow mileage and charge mileage appropriately and make profit that way, you know, and do some of the same principles and things that they did back then in the 90s that I'm doing now. So, and again, they work specifically in, you know, that radio field, and then they also did the satellite television and TV sets too. So,
so basically, where you're at today is the business funds everything that you need to live off of. You're able to live life, you know, in your way, determine your own schedule, and it's continuing to grow.
Correct, but you know, at the same time too, though, when the quarterly and the monthly come, that means Uncle Sam's knocking on the door. And
so, did you become a Republican before or after you started a business and had to pay taxes?
I actually became a Republican before the business got started, because when I'm working for AT&T and I got my first tax return in 07 or something like that, and I saw what I got, I said, holy crap. My boss said, welcome to the Republican Party, Tim. And then at that point, I remember I crusaded to get you off the Democratic Kool-Aid and bring it to the light side.
Yes, yes. You know, it's amazing how much paying taxes and dealing with regulations and red tape automatically will change your party affiliation.
You can, yes. And the thing about it is, though, is that when I have I report a profit in one, and then after it's all said and done, and when Uncle Sam takes his chunk, I could actually be in the hole sometimes. And luckily enough, though, I've been able to do certain things like, again, grants, grants and business grants and funding that can be offered to you through the government and through local rehab and the Region 12, all sorts of various non-charitable or non-profit groups and organizations that have helped me keep myself afloat. Because I'm a diabetic and because I have the stroke and tumor, it's considered me a specific disabled person. And because of that, I can actually get funding from the Department of Vocational Rehabilitation Services to help with business. And so there are a lot of good programs there, and that's what's helped me build the business up to where, I can say that cost of living is taken care of and stuff like that, because the disbursements of some of these funds and grants I get come out maybe on a monthly or quarterly basis. And and trust me, I've got notebooks like this filled with information about everything that I'm applying to for grants and funding of all sorts. And that's one of those things that you absolutely have to do too, because if you don't, and you think that you can get by with just thinking, oh, I can apply for a business loan, well, you're going to be in business for about a good year and a half before they actually consider giving you business line of credit. And sometimes it's not even, they don't even consider it yet either, because your income and everything isn't up to par, and so then you're screwed. So you got to really rely on people that are out to help you get through that, and that will provide you a good byline of steady income and capital coming in, and that will give lenders a better chance to give you money down the road, whether it's a business credit card, line of credit, or an actual loan.
Okay, and so this actually seems like a smarter idea if you can get those grants, because if you take out loans, that increases your cost of business, increases, the risk of not being able to get all your bills paid, and could damage you long term, versus a grant that may not need to be paid back.
I can't be paid back at all. Some of these I don't have to pay back at all. A few of these, how I have to pay them back, Jake, is volunteer so many hours or credits or days or months to volunteer for the Small Business Administration of Iowa or the Iowa Workers Development, something of that nature. You volunteer time to show people how to do the paperwork, because sometimes when you get the information on how to fill something out from a bureaucratic government employee, it don't make sense sometimes, because they keep repeating. But it makes a little bit more sense when you got an everyday Joe that's sat and banged his head against the wall a million times trying to fill out paperwork and say, this is how you have to fill it out. That stuff, it helps pay some of that stuff off. And then another thing is, like this year example, the Iowa State Fair, they'll have a tent for the Rural Broadband and Communications Alliance, making broadband and internet and high-speed internet available to people who live out in the country in the rural areas, more available. And so one is that I go out there in the booth and advocate, the organizations, initiatives, and mission to help enrich rural Iowa with the internet. So creative ways to do that. So, and some of you don't have to take it at all.
Okay. One last thing here as we wrap up. All right, and I do want to thank you for coming on to the show. If people want to get a hold of you, check what you have, shop your store, and get in touch with you or learn more about you, what are the best ways for them to connect?
Well, right now, it's going to be Facebook's our Facebook site. It's going to be facebook.com/rural specialties. That's the best place to go to right now. The website itself right now is down because we have websites. If you have your own personal website for business, and if you do any kind of commerce of any kind through electronic check or debit or credit cards, security has to be beefed up just a tad bit more. And with the cyber security risk and cyber terrorism and identity theft and everything that's been going on, we've been, it's for the business insurance purposes, it's been encouraged that we beef up the security features and settings and parameters for customers who come through and purchase anything online. And so that's the biggest thing that we have to improve there. And so right now the website's down currently, but the Facebook website's the best way to go. Emailing me too is another great way of doing that. And actually I'll just, Jake, I'm sure you can probably provide this to everybody, but I'll send this to you right now over Skype, and you can broadcast it that way. It's ts9530@me.com.
Okay, I'll put that in the show notes.
And so just sent it to you right now. And then another thing, too, is just giving me a phone call. Again, the way that this is set up here is we are mom and pop. Even though there is no mom, there is no pop, it's just one crazy Asian guy that's running the show. And
don't forget your dog. I mean, that's an important business partner.
He's laying next to he's the second man in command here, obviously. So, kind of like the company spokesperson, but mom and pop, really, where it boils down to it. Want to kind of give that old traveling salesman culture another run for it again, where I'm not knocking on your door and everything, but we're going to bring some of those classic principles and bedrock foundations back to where we focus on the customer, on their wants and needs, and not spread them out wide and thin on stuff you don't necessarily need. Educate them to make better choices on purchases and stuff to save money. And then at the same token time, though, too, you know, offer a good product and service too that they can choose from, and you know, not have to be we can be a technologically savvy company and business, but we don't have to rely on all the technology in the world to rely on it to make it run. So.
Okay. Well, thank you for being on the show. We greatly appreciate it. All right.
Yeah.
Have a good one. Okay, so I hope you were able to get a lot out of that interview and that you have a lot of takeaways that you can then put forth into action, and being able to build your own business, whether that is an online thing, brick and mortar, whatever it is, and being able to figure out ways in which you can earn enough money to have complete control over your schedule. Now, if he can do it, there's no excuse as to why you can't. Because remember some of the obstacles that he had, including brain surgery, a little bit, and I kind of joke around a little bit with him. They still didn't fix his head, but, that's something that friends can joke about. And so when you take a look at all the difficulties that he overcame, and yet he's still able to do his thing, have complete control over his schedule, and take care of all of his financial needs, this is something that we can all try and strive for. However, not all of us are entrepreneurs, right? We just have to recognize that. Not all of us are cut out for the entrepreneurial lifestyle. And so, in the next few interviews, what I'm going to be doing here is bringing up career search experts over the next 3 shows to show you how to be able to find a job, land the job, and do well in the job. That is some of the things I'm going to be doing over the next 3 episodes. And just in case there are some of you out there who are not born entrepreneurs or can't handle the entrepreneurial lifestyle. So I hope you've enjoyed this show. Fan me, subscribe, keep, in touch here. And I'll be ripping the audio out of the video for you audio podcast listeners. And keep coming back whenever I post a new show or whenever I go live on a new show so that you don't miss any of this great and valuable information. Thank you for watching, and I'll be back again.